Welcome to Northwest GIS, and this session is the path from GIS Manager to GIS Leader. I am Adam Carnow from Esri. I'm a community evangelist at Esri based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been a GIS practitioner for over 25 years, and in addition to experience in the private sector, I've also worked in the public sector and academia. I've been with Esri for over 12 years, and I work with Esri staff, partners, ArcGIS users in the GIS community to help them do more with their GIS investment and make a difference in their communities. Now, I'd like to interrupt this program, this presentation, for a sidebar, and that sidebar has to do with, of course, COVID-19. So I thought that the importance of the pandemic justified some of my attention during this session. So please bear with me, and I'm going to show you just a little bit how this ties into the path from GIS Manager to GIS Leader. So everything about this pandemic is spatial, and this event has thrust us as a community into the spotlight. We've been thrust into this spotlight because everyone affected by this tragedy is looking for answers, and we're at the center of what can and the technology that can help provide those answers. So now is our time to shine. I mean, this is an incredible opportunity to be noticed and advance people's knowledge and appreciation for what we do. And let's look at some examples of how we've responded. I'm sure you recognize this dashboard. This is perhaps the most visible map in the world right now. It's the COVID-19 Global Map and Dashboard from Johns Hopkins University. And it was created by PhD student En Dong in about 8 hours. Once it was publicly released in January, it went viral, yes, pun intended, very quickly, and it now gets over 1 billion hits per day. And that's almost 14,000 hits per second. And it's designed to handle over 2 billion hits per day. They've also released a United States dashboard that provides more detailed information at the county level. And here's an example of an executive user of the dashboard. This tweet is from the acting Deputy Secretary of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Ken Cuccinelli. And here's brand new news that just came out last week, and that is that Lauren Gardner, who is the civil engineer that runs the program at Johns Hopkins, where En Dong works, she was chosen by Time as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. They have 5 categories of these people: pioneers, artists, leaders, titans, and icons. She was highlighted under the pioneers category, which is pretty amazing. Other great organizations that are using the technology to battle the pandemic include the World Health Organization, the U.S. Census Bureau, and I would like to bring your attention to a brand new app put out by Esri. It just came out at the end of August. It's called the COVID Pulse app, and it uses data updated daily, the same data that the Johns Hopkins dashboard uses. And it shows the trends of the COVID pandemic across the United States by state and also by county if you zoom in. So once you do zoom in, you can access county level data for new cases per capita, deaths per capita, and cumulative cases, as well as the current phase of the pandemic. So pandemics cycle through 6 phases: emergent, spreading, epidemic, controlled, end state, and no cases. And this map provides the current phase for each county in the U.S. It's a really effective visualization tool for both the historic trend as well as the current situation. The response of the GIS community to deploy apps supporting efforts to fight the pandemic has been really amazing. Esri has cataloged 382 apps in the United States and another 336 apps across the globe for a total of over 700 COVID-19 apps. Pretty incredible. And the things these apps have in common are that they're all configurable. There's no time for custom coding when you've got to put an app out there very quickly to respond to a timely event like the pandemic. They're all user-centric, so they're accessible to anybody. They are data-driven. They're designed to showcase the data with visualization and analytics. And they're simple. They're very easy to use. So congratulations to those hard workers behind these important GIS apps. And I want to make sure that our work on this issue is not over. In fact, it's just starting. There's still a lot of opportunities for us to contribute. Now, here's a list of COVID-19 solutions that are open source. They're free, they're supported, and we'll migrate them to new versions of ArcGIS as it comes out. So there's lots of opportunity and work to be done battling this pandemic. And this is just an example of all the rest of the ArcGIS solutions that are available. So don't think that just because you put up a dashboard or a hub site or a Survey 123 app that your work is done. There's lots of work to recover and get back to normal here. So please check out these. And if you work with people that need to, be in charge of these kinds of tasks, then reach out to them and provide them more support with additional apps. And then also we've got the main models from or both Chime and the Surge model from CDC have been ported into an ArcGIS Pro modeling toolbox. So if you've got people that need to do that, you can leverage that tool as well. All right, now some of the other effects of COVID-19 we're going to see is number one is organizations are going to be dealing with reduced budgets. Now, because of that, there's going to be a bigger, harder, more difficult battle for the limited resources that organizations have. So you need to be ready for that. And the next thing is that organizations are going to be looking for ways to save money because of these reduced budgets. And so people at the top are going to be turning to their fellow executives and asking, what kind of things can we use to save money? We want to make sure that GIS is on that short list because use of GIS can save money. So please be sure to let the executives at the top know that you can be helpful in finding ways to save money across the organization. In addition to that, they're going to want to digitally transform. So what that means is if you're doing more with less because of the reduced budgets, that means more technology. So usually, even though you have a reduced budget, you'll see organizations shift their funding and pour more into technology because they need to do more with less, and that's called digital transformation. And so look for that and let them know that GIS is a technology that can help with digital transformation. And then with people working remotely, no longer will paper manual based workflows work anymore. So organizations, whether they like to or not, are going to have to be digitizing these manual paper-based workflows, and GIS is very handy at that as well. So make sure you reach out to your executives that are in charge of navigating these strange times through the pandemic, and let them know that GIS can help the organization get through that better than ever. Okay, so back to our normally scheduled program on the path from GIS Manager to GIS Leader. So let's first talk about why we need GIS leaders. And I've done a bit of research in this and found various articles from different timelines. We'll start with this article 9 years ago from 2011, and this was one of the impactful articles for me as a person, as a GIS professional. I read this article with this quote in it, and it really made me angry. It motivated me, and it inspired me to do more and to change this image away from just being maps or graphic products or the younger brother of CAD. Now, that was 9 years ago, but I do believe that most organizations are still in this mode where GIS department and people are seen as map makers. This article from 5 years ago, same kind of thing. GIS is often seen as maps or visual graphics product, and the more advanced capabilities are ignored because they remain unknown to key departments and decision makers. And then this one from just 2 years ago that said, as expected, lack of awareness among users and policymakers remains the biggest challenge for the industry, with over 38% listing it as a primary hurdle. This was CIOs that were being surveyed and asked what is the biggest hurdle for them not maximizing their return on investment from GIS, and this was the number one answer. And then this quote from this same article is really, really impactful, and that is the geospatial industry is still undervalued and underappreciated by the world at large. The onus is on us to collectively demonstrate how location data and tools can be applied to make dramatic improvements to society, from making every journey safer and our air cleaner to helping businesses operate more efficiently. So the onus is on us. And one of the ways that we can do that is to break out of this map maker image. I'm not saying that map making is bad or is not valuable, because it is, and it's very hard to do it and to do it well. I'm just saying that if you have access to GIS, you should be doing a lot more than making maps. And we shouldn't be creating this map maker image. So when people ask you what you do for a living, I bet a lot of people say I make maps. That's a cop out, and you need to do a better job at describing what you do. And so long ago, once I realized this, I started coming up with a new one, which is when people ask me what I do, I say I help people make better decisions with the power of location. If you answer it that way, people are going to usually ask questions about how you can help them, be much more interested in what you do. So let's lose this map maker image and move on from it, and show our colleagues what we can really do to provide them more value in the organization, because they want your help and need your help. They just don't know it because they don't know what you can do to help them. So get out there, change those minds, change your image, market the spatial analytics and other things that you can do to help people. Okay, so another way that we can switch switch people's minds about what we do is to quit talking about the technology and leading with the GIS technology. We're very comfortable in that area, but most people that are not in our um, area of expertise are not. And so we need to shift it. And a great way to shift that is to shift away from the technology and shift towards the capability that GIS can empower in an organization, and that's known as location intelligence. So, what is a capability? A capability is the power or ability to do something. So, people at the top are very interested. They're not might not be very interested in technology, especially GIS technology, but I guarantee you they're interested in capabilities. They're always interested in expanding the capabilities in their organization or adding new ones. And so if we shift it from talking about GIS all the time to start talking about the capability that GIS can enable in an organization, which I believe the best term is location intelligence, then we can get people's attention and they will understand our value a whole lot more. So what do I mean by location intelligence? Well, what I'd like to do now is show you a short 2-minute video produced by Esri and Fast Company magazine. It's intended to be viewed by executives, and it explains what location intelligence is and why they should be interested in it and the value it can provide to their organization.
What is location intelligence, and how is it changing the way we solve the problems of the future? Location intelligence uses spatial information to empower understanding, insight, decision-making, and prediction. It has applications everywhere, from retail site selection and solving traffic bottlenecks to maintaining and repairing vital infrastructure. Location-based insights are used in many ways. They can create safer, more efficient supply chains. Growers can trace spoiled crops back to the field from which they were picked. Better understanding the trajectory of hurricanes, tornadoes, and floods can help evacuate residents, reduce damage, and save lives, making cities and citizens more resilient to the increasing severity of storms. Modeling wildfire risks empowers local authorities to clear vegetation and coordinate their response to fires. In farming, precision agriculture measures soil moisture and crop health to deliver water and fertilizer only where needed. Optimizing production costs and maximizing crop yields is necessary to feed another 2 billion people by 2050. Location-intelligent organizations allow all participants to create, manage, and share information, making them smarter, more productive, and more efficient. 2/3 of business executives already use location intelligence to gain a competitive edge. More than half use it to create new market opportunities. For this reason, 97% of companies believe location intelligence is crucial to their success. Most say they plan to invest in location intelligence technologies. We've only just begun to explore the potential of combining spatial information with prediction. Just as we would have once been hard-pressed to imagine all the uses for smartphones, we're still discovering how location intelligence, combined with emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, will uncover new insights and provide a map of the future. Esri, the science of where.
Okay, so now that we know what location intelligence is, let's see how we can learn about how to implement it in our organizations. All right. So if we're implementing some technology like a GIS, that requires a certain set of knowledge and skills. If you're going to enable a capability like location intelligence in an organization, it requires a whole different set of skills and knowledge. So what I'd like to do is dive a little bit deeper into that. And I steer you to this document from Esri Canada that came out last year. This is one of the most impactful documents I've seen in my 25 plus year career. I heartily suggest you download it and read it and utilize it to be more effective in your organization. And it's called Winning with Location Intelligence, the Essential Practices. And what Esri Canada did was they surveyed 200 organizations across Canada in all industries. And these organizations had 500 or more employees. And they analyzed their use of location intelligence by the organizations and identified which ones were successful with it. And of those ones that were successful, they identified common best practices among those and then have published it out in this document. And they've divided it up by industry. So you can come in here and learn which best practices are proven in the real world that you can apply to your organization. And they divided them up into what they call the 5 pillars of location intelligence, which are strategy, organization, technology and data, culture, and literacy. And what this shows us, first of all, is that if you're going to be successful with enabling the capability of location intelligence in your organization, you've got to spread your time, knowledge, and skills across all five of these pillars. You cannot spend 100% of your time on technology and data and expect to be successful. So, what we're going to do is take a little bit of a look at each one of these individually. And as we do that, I'm going to reveal these five numbers that are tied to each one of the five pillars. So these numbers are 64, 76, 78, 84, and 84. And these numbers come from research that I've done over the last couple of years. I've surveyed GIS professionals across the United States, over 800 of them, and asked them specific questions that relate to these five pillars of location intelligence. And we're going to see how this indicates how much work there is to do in the GIS community in regarding the five pillars. So let's start with the first one, which is strategy. So I'm going to be very plain and direct here. If you're going to be successful with GIS in your organization, you must have a strategy, period. No ifs, ands, or buts. In fact, the importance of a strategy cannot be understated. In fact, in a recent article from global management consulting firm McKinsey and Company, the article was called Catch Them If You Can, How Leaders in Data and Analytics Have Pulled Ahead. They surveyed over 500 C-level executives and senior managers, representing a full range of regions, industries, and sizes, and it showed that the creation of a strategy now ranks as the number one challenge to and reason for a company's success with data and analytics. So GIS is data and analytics. And so if you're successful with data and analytics, the number one reason you are is because of your strategy. If you're not successful, the number one challenge to being successful is the strategy. So, bottom line is you've got to have a strategy. And I know sometimes it can be hard to convince the higher ups in your organization for you to spend some time and resources on a strategy. So, I'm going to direct you to this article and I'll provide these slides to you. Um, uh, I'll provide them to the people at the conference so they can provide them to you, and they're all hyperlinked to these resources. So you'll be able to click on this one, go right to the article. But this article comes to us from Matt Lewin of Esri Canada, and it gives you 5 ways that you can convince an executive about why you need a geospatial strategy. So you can read them there. So definitely use the tactics in this article for getting executive support for your geospatial strategy. But let's see how badly we need to do our geospatial strategies. Well, the first of my 5 numbers is that my research shows that 64% of organizations that use GIS do not have and maintain a GIS strategic plan. So the number one challenge to being successful with GIS, and 64%, the majority, do not have it. It's a bad problem. So we've got to fix that. So what do I mean by a geospatial strategy? Well, a geospatial strategy is a business-oriented plan that defines how an organization will use GIS to achieve its goals. Okay, business-oriented plan, not technology. Okay, and we're focused on helping the organization achieve its goals. That's what leaders do. They don't make maps and they don't create apps. They help an organization achieve its goals. Stated another way, an effective geospatial strategy connects your business needs with the right people, processes, and technology to help you overcome challenges and improve results. So, what a leader does is try to change the organization for the better, help it through crises like a pandemic, help it emerge even better and healthier and more effective than before. That's what leaders do. They step up in times of crisis and they use the technology to help the organization overcome the challenges and improve their results. If you want to look at it simply, number one, you need to know what the business goals are for your organization. And every organization has goals. Maybe they're in a strategic plan, maybe they're listed as goals, objectives, and policies somewhere, or initiatives, or maybe you've got a performance management system and they're listed as KPIs or key performance indicators, whatever they are. You need to talk to the people that are in charge of meeting those goals. And what you're going to ask them is what challenges exist that's keeping them from reaching their goals. And once you learn what those challenges are, you then can retreat, figure out ways that GIS can be deployed to help overcome those challenges so that the business can meet its goals. And then you actually deliver on that. And when you do, you create business value of GIS. So what's the one common word in all 4 of these circles? Business. Everything about what we do should be focused on business, getting the business done, getting the challenges out of the way, and achieving those goals. And if you do that, you get business value of GIS, and that's the definition of a successful GIS, is generating business value. And if you do that, you'll get support from the executives, which means more resources. So let's see an example of how this can work in the real world. Let's talk about Bonneville County, Idaho. It's in the southeast part of Idaho. The population is about 115,000. And back in 2015, they started with a single GIS professional. Now, because they're susceptible to wildfires, they deployed some configurable off-the-shelf applications, ArcGIS solutions, to support wildfire response. And these completely replaced paper-based workflows that they'd always used in the past. And then they unfortunately got hit with some wildfires. Now, as a result of this, the county provided a better emergency response experience to end users than they ever had in the past. Now, this, along with other great high business value work they did, convinced management to let the county add 5 more full time GIS professionals. All right, we all know how difficult it is to get executives to approve additional brand new full time employee positions. Here's a county of only 115,000 people that so clearly saw the value of GIS that they hired 5 more professionals in just a couple of years. So this is what is possible when you show business value of GIS to executives. Now, what does a geospatial strategy look like? This is not a big, thick document that gets updated every 3 to 5 years that sits on the shelf. No, this is a way of daily doing business. And this is the way that over decades of working with organizations all across the globe in every industry, and Esri has created with making them successful with our technology. This is our best practice for developing and executing a geospatial strategy. And it consists of these 4 steps: understand, plan, act, and revisit. So first you understand the goals and challenges, which we talked about in those 4 circles. Next, you plan out your response to those challenges by identifying the people, the process, the technology, and the data required to implement the solution. Then you act by implementing the solution. And then lastly, you revisit the understand phase again because the goals and challenges are constantly changing. Because strange things happen like pandemics and earthquakes and wildfires and hurricanes and all that kind of stuff. So the goals of the organization are always changing. So we revisit at the top, understand again, move through this again. So the idea is that we're going to maximize our impact on the organization. So this is an ongoing process, a daily way of doing business, not a one-time thing or not a document that sits on the shelf. If you want to learn more of this, definitely go to this URL and download this short document called The Approach to Maximize Impact, and it'll introduce you a little bit more to the geospatial strategy idea in these 4 steps. And then also you can discuss this with your Esri account team if you're an Esri user. Okay, so let's look at the next pillar in the 5 pillars, which is organization. Now, this is a broad category, so in this format of this presentation, I'm only going to talk about a part of it. And for that part of it, I'm going to focus on governance. And when I'm talking about governance in this realm, I'm not talking about data governance. I'm talking about the organizational governance of GIS. So how is GIS formally dictated that how does it operate in the organization? What is its structure and how does it function? And if I go back to my numbers and my research, it shows that 76% of organizations that use GIS do not have formal governance in place. And that's another big hurdle to being successful with GIS. So you've got to create governance if you don't have it. It can be daunting, but it is worth the work to make it happen because once you do, it will really make you much more effective in your organization. And if you're looking for some resources, I'll steer you back to Matt Lewin again at Esri Canada. Really, you need to be following Matt anyway. He's one of the brightest minds in our community. Um, Really an amazing writer and just very intelligent guy. So definitely connect with him on LinkedIn and also through the Esri Canada web pages. And he's written many blog posts on their web pages about governance for GIS. There's a video available out there as well. So definitely check out these resources. And again, talk to your Esri account team to see if they can get you some help in creating some governance. All right, so the third of the pillars is technology and data. This is our happy place, our home. This is where we feel comfortable. This is probably where we spend the majority of our time. Again, a very broad area, so I'm going to pull out one piece to talk about in this presentation, and that is best practices. Now, best practices are called best practices for a reason because they help you avoid the pitfalls that other people have encountered along the way of implementing GIS and location intelligence in an organization. And so we've got to follow best practices. And I promise if you implement best practices, your GIS will be more effective, more performant. You will sleep better. You'll have fewer tech support calls. It really is imperative that you are familiar with the best practices and implement them. So back to my research, which shows that 78% of GIS practitioners have not read the Esri document called Architecting the ArcGIS Platform Best Practices. And this is that document. So 78% have never read this document, so they're not even aware of our best practices, let alone have implemented them. So please do me a favor, go to this URL, download this document, read it, discuss it with your Esri account team, and figure out which one of these you need to implement, which ones apply to you and your organization that you need to implement. Be aware that this document changes at least 3 times a year because the technology is constantly changing, so we have to update the best practices. The latest version just came out in September of this year, so make sure you have that one. It will cover people, data, process, and technology. So keep up with it and make sure you always have the latest version. Be aware that a lot of these best practices in this document are not things that Esri invented. They're generic um, enterprise IT best practices that have been around for quite some time in the enterprise IT world. So if you talk to your IT director, they'll be very familiar with most of these. In fact, they'll wonder why you haven't already implemented them, and they should give you support. So be familiar with our best practices and implement those that apply to you and your organization. All right, the next of the 5 pillars is culture. Again, a broad category, so I'm going to pull out one part of it, and that part of it is change management. So having a good culture around an organization means that people are willing to change the way they do things, use new technology, think outside the box. So humans by default are resistant to change, and so we've got to help them change. We do that through change management, organizational change management. I'm not talking about software change management. And this is very critical because you can put out the best app in the world, but if nobody uses it because they don't want to change or use the new technology, or adopt new technology, then it doesn't have any effect on the organization. And it's been shown, research shows that those organizations that have effective change management plans and programs are 6 times more successful with their technology adoption. So change management is really a critical piece of being successful uh, with technology in an organization. And my research shows that 84% of organizations that use GIS do not have and maintain a change management plan for their GIS. So please reach out to your organization. If you already have change management program in place, reach out and get it going in your GIS group. If not, then look to start up your own by starting with a plan. And this is because the biggest challenge of a successful GIS implementation is the people problem. I mean, the tech is the easy part. It's hardware, software, it's data, it's a network. If you set it up right, it'll do whatever you want. It's the people that are in the way of making the technology successful. So the solution to this is again a change management program. And let's go with the industry definition from one of the experts, which is it's the discipline that guides how we prepare, equip, and support individuals to successfully adopt change in order to drive organizational success and outcomes. If you'd like some help with this, Esri does have a change management consulting practice, and one of the gentlemen that's on that team is Michael Green. So if you want some resources on this, again, connect with your Esri account team, but check Michael out online. He's got some videos, and he and his team have authored a bunch of blog articles, et cetera, out there because this can really help you be much more successful in your organization by getting people to be much more accepting of the new technology that you're putting out there. Okay, so let's now talk about the last of the 5 pillars, which is literacy. Now, again, a broad area, so let's pull out one piece to talk about, and I'm going to talk about training. So, literacy means people are aware of what the technology can do, they're aware of how to use it. So, that is their technical aptitude for it. And so, if you're going to have training in an organization, you're going to need funding for that training, and you should have a plan for that training. And that plan is called a workforce development plan. What that plan does is analyze your staff, finds who in your organization are using GIS, how they're using it, what are their roles and responsibilities, and then it designs a custom training plan that says, okay, if this person is doing X, Y, and Z, then they need the following training 1, 2, 3 in this order. And so it prescribes specific training for people in a sequence so that you can get people the training they need. If you have this documented in a workforce development plan, you're much more likely to get funding for your training. And so it's critical that you do this. And everybody that uses GIS should get at least some training once a year because The technology is changing so fast. So the last of my numbers shows that 84% of organizations that use GIS do not have and maintain a workforce development plan. So do me a favor, if you're an Esri customer, reach out to your Esri account team. They can connect you with an Esri training consultant. This training consultant can create a workforce development plan for you at no additional cost. And then you can use that to actually um, procure the training, implement it, and then you're going to get more value out of your GIS because people are going to know more about what they should be doing and the correct way to do it. We also, you can check online. We have some default generic, if you will, learning plans. So for instance, if you need to migrate all of your desktop users off of ArcMap and onto ArcGIS Pro, you can come up here and find a learning plan that helps you migrate people off of Map and onto Pro. So definitely check that out as well. Okay, so now onto the part of the presentation that I really like the most, and that's to hire, or that's to highlight some of the real examples of GIS leaders out there, people like you and me that are part of the GIS community, that are our peers, that are in our professional networks, that are doing this. And so I want to get inspiration from them, and I want to connect from them to learn more. Now, this is a long journey, and you can go many different ways. There's not one specific way to go. But as I mentioned earlier at the start of this presentation, the fact that people hear GIS and think of us as map makers, I think that one of the easy, not one of the easy ways, but one of the default ways to start to get people to understand our value and to shed that map maker image is to rebrand ourselves, which means losing the term GIS when it comes to our department names and also to our job titles. And if you think about it, we really shouldn't be using GIS as our job titles or our department names. Why? Because it's this tool that we use. It's not what we do. Think about that. Organizations are normally named their departments based on what they do. GIS is the tool we use. It's not what we do. You don't see a department called the spreadsheet department, right, in your organization. So why do you see a GIS department? So I am seeing a variety of organizations around the globe rebranding their job titles and their departments to shed that map maker image. And here are some examples from around the US, including Canada and Australia. So that third one I really like, which is Data Analytics and Visualization Services Director. I also really love the ones from Walgreens, Enterprise Location Intelligence. That one from the Edmonton Police Service is really good. And then the bottom two is where they've taken GIS, rebranded it as location intelligence, paired it with business intelligence, or the BI group, into a business and location intelligence services section. And in both of those instances, I've seen the GIS manager rise up and run both the business and location intelligence services, which is pretty interesting. So, and I think that's one of the great functional places where GIS should be in an organization. So definitely think about this. Think about rebranding your job title and your department as well, so that people better understand what we do. Personally, I would stay away from any term that uses geo in it because I've seen too many people confuse this with geology, geometry, etc. I like to use very simple words that can't be confused. So data analytics, visualization makes sense. Decision analytics makes sense. Business and location intelligence makes sense to me. So I would suggest that. And if you use spatial, quite often that will confuse people too because they'll think astronomy and outer space type of stuff. So anyway, so my vision here is that if we can create, we can show the executives the value we can deliver to the organization, they may create a new executive position that we could move into and not be stopped by the GIS manager position. So most organizations have an executive at the top. Let's say they're a CEO, and then they create a position for CTO for someone to run their technology. But over the years, and as the technology develops more and more and delivers more and more value, becomes more and more complex, they're creating additional executive positions. So you're seeing chief innovation officers being created, chief data officers, chief analytics officers. So my point is that if we can show the value of GIS to an organization and an executive, why shouldn't there be a chief geospatial officer that we can move up into and help provide GIS across the entire organization at an executive level? And there are actually some examples of people that are doing this, right? So what I want you to really highlight here are these amazing people that are part of the GIS community that have moved up into bigger and better positions. And these are across the country, including Canada and Australia as well. So we've got CIOs, CTOs, CDOs in here, directors of Office of IT and Innovation, directors of Enterprise Systems, IT directors, innovation, business, and location intelligence officers, vice presidents of real estate market research, airport technology program managers, lead technical services for global applications in ERP, deputy CIOs, assistant directors of IT, et cetera, et cetera. And then at the bottom of the list, a bunch of GIOs. All right, so reach out to these people. These people are making it happen. They've done so. They've moved up in their organization beyond GIS. They're delivering more value to their organization. So connect with them on LinkedIn, talk to them, learn from them. These are our shining examples and our mentors here that have uh, created this trail that we can follow. I'd like to highlight a few of these. Number one, Todd Shanley, who works right up the road from me in Cabarrus County, North Carolina. He's the CIO there. Great story about Todd. 23 years ago, he started as a part-time intern doing GIS for the county, and 23 years later, he's the CIO. And not only is the CIO, but they're winning all kinds of awards. For the past 6 years, they've consistently scored in the top 10 for the Center for Digital Government's annual Digital County Survey. Last year, they came in first place. And Todd this year was noted as one of the top 25 doers, dreamers, and drivers of 2020. So, congrats to Todd, doing a great job up there. Just a great shining example of somebody that's making it happen. Here's another example. This is Nick O'Day down at the city of Johns Creek, Georgia. He's gone from GIS Manager to Chief Data Officer. And then at the city of Charleston, South Carolina, Tracy McKee is the new Chief Innovation Officer, and she was formerly the GIS Manager. Now, there's other examples as well. In fact, one from the Northwest here up in Skagit County, Washington. And that is that maybe you don't move up into some flashy new title, but if the executives at the top realize the value of GIS, they might reorganize GIS so that the lead GIS person is reporting directly to a top executive. So that means that they see a lot of value in you and your program and your technology. And so they want to direct that department themselves directly because they want to use it themselves. So these are four great examples in local government across the US of people that have done that. So they might not have some crazy cool title, but they're making it happen and they're being shown by that because they report directly to top level executives. So that could be another option for you as well. All right, so now let's go ahead and wrap this up. Bottom line is that we need to quit talking GIS technology and start enabling location intelligence successfully across our entire organization, adding new capabilities. Talk to executives to get support for this. And if you're going to enable location intelligence successfully, follow that document from Esri Canada. Follow the best practices. They're divided out by industry and by each of these five pillars. Know that you've got to spend time across all five pillars. You've got to have skills in all five of these areas, and you've got to really make things happen. So, strategy, organization, culture, and literacy. And on the technology and data side, you've got to be implementing those best practices, be aware of them, and be implementing them so that you can really make your GIS world class. Now, the next thing I want you to be aware of if you're an Esri customer is that please get help from us and our partners. None of the rock stars that I've shown in this or that I meet or see all the time have ever done it all themselves. They all get help. So please reach out and get help. For Esri, that means we bring a lot to the table. You've got your account team, which is your account manager and your solution engineer. We've also got a large stable of subject matter experts in every subject imaginable. So if you need help communicating the value of GIS, let's say to a public works director, we've got people that have been public works directors and staff for many, many years, and they can talk and speak GIS in the public works realm, and they know how to communicate that. In addition to that, you can get help with our services, whether that's our consulting services or our training services. Again, remember you can connect with your training consultant to get a workforce development plan. We have industry leading tech support. If you need support 24/7, 365 because you support operations that run around the clock, you can procure premium support that will do that. We also have a great thing called the Advantage Program that wraps the consulting services, the training services, and the technical support all under one umbrella. You get a designated technical advisor that will create an annual strategic plan for you that you will then work against with the resources in the program, and you'll accomplish a whole lot more. Definitely work with us and our partners together. We have a stable of lots of great partners out there. I'm sure a lot that are involved here with the Northwest GIS Conference. So definitely reach out to them if you need help selecting the right partner. Talk to your Esri account team. We can help. Be aware that they can earn up to 8 different specialties in specific areas. So if you need help in a specific area, make sure the partner you're talking to has earned that specialty, because they'll have a leg up on other partners that have not. And then definitely check out the ArcGIS Marketplace, because that's where our partners show off um, their products and solutions, and it's a great place to find help there. And we also have a partner, find a partner webpage as part of our Esri partner network pages. But again, work with your Esri account team, and they'll help you find the right partner. Okay, so there's lots to do, people. It is time to seize the opportunities in front of you. And really, the pandemic has been good to us as GIS professionals, because everything about it is spatial. It's shining that spotlight on us. Now's the time as leaders to step in that spotlight, step up, take control, help the organization emerge on the other side of the pandemic better than ever, have it successfully survive, have it be better than ever. Help save money, help digitally transform, help get rid of those manual paper-based workflows. Stand up and be counted, and show your value to the organization. It's really time to do that, and the time couldn't be better than ever. Your colleagues want your help and need your help. They just don't know it. So we've got to change that image away from map maker, get to those people at the top, deliver business value by helping them overcome challenges, etc. So I've shown you many examples and strategies on how to do that. Please take them and take action. Don't wait. Start tomorrow. And then I want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. Number one, there's a difference between having a job and building a career. Which do you want to do? There are people that come to work every day for the paycheck and that's it. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. But personally, I want to build a career. And building a career is becoming a leader. Moving from manager into leader is stepping up and, again, leading the organization, helping change the organization for the better. That is a lot more meaning than just a job. So fight the good fight and build your career, and you'll have much more impact on the organization and the community, and you'll be able to feel that impact personally as well. It'll be much more rewarding. And then think about, when you're gone from this job, how will you be remembered? How are they going to talk about you when you're gone? I don't know about you, but I want to be remembered fondly. I want to be remembered as a mover and shaker, as someone who changed my organization for the better and was a leader and cared about my colleagues and cared about making the organization better and serving the community. So if we all did that, this world would be a lot better place, and all our organizations would run a lot better. And I know that's what we try to do at Esri every day. Okay, lastly, if you would like to see this presentation in a different format, so I authored a series of 3 blog posts online in LinkedIn and in GeoNet. So if you go to LinkedIn and find my profile, you'll see my number 1 top recommended article is this part 1, and then I'll have a link to parts 2 and then to part 3. And so you can scan this in an article version, and it's got all the hyperlinks in it to access the additional resources as well. But again, I will also provide the slides to the Northwest GIS Conference Committee, so that they can provide them to you as well, and all of them will be hyperlinked directly to the additional resources. Okay, so that's all I have. Please reach out and connect with me. Here's my email address. I'm very active on GeoNet and Twitter, as well as LinkedIn. Please connect with me. I'd love to hear your stories. I'd love to tell your stories to others. I'd love to help you be successful any way I can. Just overall connect with you and hear from you how you're doing. So thanks very much for your time, and enjoy the rest of the conference.